For a long time, I prayed the same way every day. I believed in God. I believed prayer mattered, and I prayed consistently. But deep down, I felt something was wrong. My prayers sounded faithful, yet my life felt unchanged. I wasn't angry at God. I was confused. I started to wonder if the problem wasn't how often I prayed, but how I prayed. As I spent time in Scripture, something uncomfortable became clear. There were habits in my prayer life that looked spiritual on the surface, but were quietly blocking intimacy with God. They weren't obvious sins. They weren't things anyone warned me about. They were subtle and very common among believers. Today, I want to share 3 things I had to change about my prayers and what happened when I did. Stay with me until the end, because the third change reshaped my relationship with God more than I ever expected. The first thing I had to face was unforgiveness. I told myself I had forgiven them, but I still replayed the hurt. I prayed with the right words while quietly holding on to resentment. I didn't realize that praying while refusing to release someone was closing my heart. Jesus said, "When you stand praying, forgive." I was praying, but I wasn't forgiving. Forgiveness didn't start with feelings. It started with honesty. I said, "God, I don't want to forgive, but I choose to release this to you." Forgiveness didn't erase the memory. It removed the weight. And when my heart opened, my prayers began to flow again. The second thing I had to confront was ignored sin. Not something obvious, not something public. It was the habit of praying for God's blessing while defending things He was asking me to surrender. I knew what He was pointing out, but I kept praying around it instead of dealing with it. I wanted answers without obedience. Everything changed when I stopped hiding and started surrendering. Instead of just asking for help, I confessed honestly. I learned that confession doesn't push God away, it invites Him closer. When I stopped defending what God was correcting, peace replaced resistance. My prayers didn't become perfect, but they became real. The third thing I had to change was how I approached God in prayer. I prayed with plans already made. I asked God to bless decisions I had never surrendered. My prayers sounded spiritual, but deep down, I wanted control. I wasn't asking, "God, what do you want?" I was asking, "God, please support what I've decided." Alignment began when surrender replaced control. I learned to pause before asking and listen. Instead of saying, "God, do this my way," I began praying, "God, shape my heart to want what you want." The moment I stopped trying to direct God, peace entered my prayers. Even when the answer was, "Wait," I felt at rest. Looking back, I realized something important. God was never distant. He was never silent. He was inviting me closer. When I released unforgiveness, when I stopped defending what He was correcting, and when I aligned my prayers with His will, prayer stopped feeling heavy. I didn't pray more. I didn't use better words. I simply prayed with an open heart. If you've felt stuck in prayer, this isn't condemnation. It's an invitation. An invitation to let go, to surrender honestly, to trust God more deeply. And here's what I've learned. God cares less about perfect prayers and more about a willing heart. If this message spoke to you, take a moment to like the video, subscribe for more Bible-centered encouragement, and share it with someone who may need this reminder today. May your prayers become lighter, deeper, and more aligned, starting now.